The woman woke just before dawn, at the hour when the world feels unfinished. Her name was Elena, and she lay still for a long moment, listening to the quiet. The air around her was cool, carrying the faint scent of earth and wood smoke. Somewhere far away, an owl called once, then fell silent. She rose slowly, careful not to disturb the calm. Her movements were gentle, as if the morning itself might break if rushed. Outside her small wooden cabin, the sky was a deep blue-gray, brushed lightly with the promise of light. The land stretched wide and open, resting peacefully, as if it were breathing in its sleep. Elena stepped barefoot onto the ground. The soil felt cool and steady beneath her feet, grounding her in a way that always made her feel safe. She wrapped a soft shawl around her shoulders and began to walk toward the faint glow she could see in the distance. A Native American village rested there, quiet and still. The teepees stood like patient guardians, their shapes blending naturally with the land. No sharp lines, no harsh colors, only soft browns, creams, and muted reds, all chosen to honor the earth rather than compete with it. As Elena approached, she felt no fear, only a gentle curiosity. She had been invited to spend the day here, not as a visitor to be observed, but as a guest to be welcomed. The thought filled her with a calm excitement, like the feeling before a pleasant dream. An older woman emerged from one of the teepees. Her hair was long and silver, braided carefully down her back. Her eyes were warm and steady, holding years of quiet understanding. "Good morning," she said softly. Elena smiled, returning the greeting with a slight bow of her head. Words felt unnecessary beyond that. The silence between them was not empty, it was full, rich, and comfortable. Together, they walked toward a small fire that had been prepared earlier. The embers glowed gently, offering warmth without demanding attention. Elena sat on a smooth log nearby, letting the heat ease into her hands. The older woman poured water into a simple clay cup and handed it to her. Elena accepted it with both hands. The water tasted clean and fresh, as if it carried the memory of mountains and rain. As the sky slowly brightened, the village began to wake. Children stirred quietly. Dogs stretched and yawned. No one hurried. Each movement felt intentional, respectful of the morning's fragile beauty. Elena noticed how everyone seemed deeply aware of their surroundings, the wind, the light, the sounds of distant birds. It was as though the world itself was part of the community, listening and being listened to. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing slowly. In that stillness, her thoughts softened. Worries that usually followed her like shadows felt far away. Unimportant. There was only this moment, this place, and the gentle rhythm of life unfolding around her. When she opened her eyes again, the sun had begun to rise, casting a warm golden light across the land. The day was beginning, not loudly, not suddenly, but with quiet grace, and Elena knew, with a calm certainty, that this day would change her in small, beautiful ways. The morning unfolded slowly, as if time itself had decided to move with care. Elena followed the older woman beyond the edge of the village, where the land opened into a wide field brushed with dew. The grass bent gently under their feet, releasing a cool, clean scent with every step. The sun hovered low, its warmth soft and reassuring rather than bright. They knelt together on the ground. No instructions were spoken, yet Elena understood what to do. She placed her palms on the earth, feeling its quiet firmness, its patient presence. The ground was cool, but welcoming, as if it recognized her touch. Around them, others gathered, men, women, and children, forming a loose circle. Everyone moved calmly, without urgency. A young girl began to hum, a low and steady sound that blended naturally with the whisper of the breeze. Elena closed her eyes. She breathed in slowly, deeply. The air felt alive, carrying the scent of soil, grass, and distant pine. With every exhale, her body relaxed further, her shoulders lowering, her jaw unclenching. Thoughts drifted through her mind like clouds, never staying long enough to disturb her calm. The older woman spoke at last, her voice barely louder than the wind. "We greet the earth," she said. "Because it greets us every day." Elena listened, letting the words sink in without effort. She felt a sense of gratitude rise naturally within her, not sharp or emotional, but warm and steady. They remained there for a long time. Minutes felt like hours, or perhaps hours felt like minutes. Time lost its shape, becoming something gentle and flexible. When Elena opened her eyes, the circle had shifted slightly. Some people were gathering small stones, others smooth pieces of wood. Elena was handed a flat stone, cool and pale. She held it carefully, noticing its weight, its subtle texture. The stone felt ancient, as if it had known many mornings like this one. "Carry it with awareness," the older woman said. "Not as a possession, but as a reminder." Elena nodded. She slipped the stone into the pocket of her shawl, feeling its presence settle against her body. They returned to the village as the sun climbed higher. The light now revealed soft colors everywhere, the gentle reds painted on teepee cloth, the warm browns of wooden tools, the faded blues of woven blankets. Breakfast was prepared quietly. Elena watched as simple foods were laid out: warm corn bread, berries gathered at dawn, water infused with herbs. She ate slowly, savoring each bite. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was wasted. As she ate, she noticed how people spoke little, yet communicated constantly, through glances, gestures, shared silences. There was no loneliness here, only peaceful companionship. After the meal, Elena sat near a small stream that ran beside the village. She dipped her fingers into the water, watching ripples spread and fade. The stream made a soft, repetitive sound, like a lullaby meant only for those who listened closely. She leaned back, resting against a smooth stone, letting the sun warm her face. Her eyelids grew heavy, not with sleep, but with comfort. She felt held by the moment, supported by the land, the people, and the quiet wisdom flowing through everything. For the first time in a long while, Elena felt completely present, and the day was still young. The late morning carried a gentle warmth, neither demanding nor heavy. Elena followed the others to a shaded area near the village, where long pieces of wood, woven grasses, and smooth tools rested in careful order. Nothing was scattered. Everything had its place, waiting patiently to be used. The older woman motioned for Elena to sit beside her. Between them lay a bundle of dried grasses, pale gold in color, softly fragrant. "We work with our hands now," the woman said quietly, "so the mind may rest." Elena liked the sound of that. She took the grasses and began to weave them slowly, following the simple movements demonstrated beside her. Over, under. Pull gently. Pause. Breathe. Her fingers felt slightly clumsy at first, unfamiliar with the rhythm, but no one corrected her. There was no sense of right or wrong here, only process. Around her, the village worked in peaceful harmony. Some carved wood, their tools moving in slow, confident strokes. Others repaired clothing, threading needles with practiced ease. Children sat nearby, copying the motions in their own imperfect ways, smiling softly when their work bent or twisted unexpectedly. The sounds were soothing, the soft scrape of wood, the whisper of grass sliding against itself, quiet murmurs carried away by the breeze. No sharp noises, no raised voices. Even laughter, when it came, was gentle and brief, like a bird lifting and settling again. Elena noticed how her thoughts began to slow. Usually, her mind moved quickly, jumping from one idea to another, replaying memories or planning what came next. Here, that restlessness faded. Her attention narrowed until there was only the feel of grass beneath her fingertips, the warmth of sunlight on her forearms, the steady rhythm of her breath. Time softened. The basket she was weaving began to take shape almost without her noticing. It wasn't perfect. Some strands sat unevenly, others crossed in ways she hadn't intended. Yet when she looked at it, she felt no disappointment, only quiet satisfaction. The older woman glanced at the basket and nodded approvingly. "It carries your presence," she said. "That is enough." Elena smiled, a calm, unforced smile that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside. When the work paused, they stretched and rested. Elena lay back on the grass, her basket beside her. Clouds drifted slowly overhead, their shapes changing without urgency. She watched them lazily, letting her eyes follow their movement until even that felt like too much effort. She could hear her heartbeat, slow, steady, reassuring. That a sense of belonging settled over her, subtle but unmistakable. She did not feel like an outsider here. She felt like a small, natural part of something much larger, something that existed whether she noticed it or not. Before she realized it, the shadows had shifted. The sun had moved. The quiet work of hands had given way to the quiet work of being. Elena sat up slowly, holding her basket once more. She ran her fingers along its edge, committing the sensation to memory. She knew she would remember this feeling long after the day ended, the calm focus, the gentle patience, the comfort of creating without pressure. As the village began to prepare for midday rest, Elena followed, carrying more than she had made. She carried stillness, and it fit her well. The midday sun rose higher, but it did not press down harshly. It hovered like a quiet guardian, warming the land without overwhelming it. The village responded naturally, easing into rest the way water settles after a gentle ripple. Elena was guided to a shaded place beneath a wide, old tree. Its branches stretched outward like open arms, casting soft patterns of light and shadow on the ground. Blankets woven with simple, earthy colors were spread out, inviting stillness. She lay down slowly, placing her basket beside her. The earth beneath her felt firm and supportive, holding her without effort. A faint breeze passed through the leaves above, creating a steady, whispering sound that wrapped around her senses. No one spoke. Some villagers rested with eyes closed. Others gazed quietly at the sky. Children curled beside their elders, their breathing deep and even. Even the dogs lay still, their bodies relaxed, trusting the calm of the moment. Elena rested her hands on her stomach and focused on her breath. In. Out, each breath felt fuller than the last, as if the air itself were heavier with peace. She watched the leaves sway gently overhead. Sunlight slipped through them in thin, golden lines, moving slowly across her skin. The warmth felt comforting, almost like a soft hand placed there on purpose. Her thoughts drifted, but they no longer pulled at her. Memories appeared briefly, then faded. Plans for the future softened and dissolved. Nothing demanded her attention. She realized how rare this kind of rest was. Not sleep, not distraction, but simple presence. A rest that did not require recovery, only acceptance. Somewhere nearby, a flute began to play. The sound was low and unhurried, flowing like water over smooth stones. Each note lingered just long enough before giving way to the next. Elena felt the music not in her ears alone, but in her chest, where it slowed her heartbeat even more. Her eyelids grew heavy. She did not resist. In that drifting space between waking and sleep, Elena felt deeply safe. As if the land itself were watching over her, ensuring nothing would disturb this quiet pause. She sensed connection, not as a thought, but as a feeling woven into her body. When she finally opened her eyes, time had passed unnoticed. The sun had shifted again, its light now softer, rounder. The air felt cooler. She stretched slowly, savoring the movement. Around her, others were awakening just as gently, sitting up, smiling softly, sharing quiet glances that said everything without words. Elena felt renewed, but not energized in a sharp way. It was a calm renewal, like a lake after rain, full, steady, and clear. She sat for a moment longer, looking up through the branches, watching the sky drift by. She knew this rest would stay with her long after the day ended. Long after she returned to her own life. This was not just a pause in the day, it was a lesson in how to be. The afternoon settled in quietly, like a deep breath after rest. Elena followed the gentle movement of the village back toward the central fire. The flames were small and calm, no longer needed for warmth, only for presence. Thin threads of smoke rose lazily into the air, carrying the soft scent of wood and ash. People gathered in a loose circle. Some sat on smooth stones, others on the ground, legs folded comfortably beneath them. Elena took her place among them, feeling naturally included, as though the space had been waiting for her all along. An older man began to speak. His voice was low and steady, shaped by years of careful use. He did not raise it, yet everyone heard him clearly. He told a story, not with urgency, not to impress, but as one might offer a gift, gently placing it into open hands. The story was about a river that forgot its path. As he spoke, Elena watched the fire. The flames moved slowly, leaning and straightening, never rushing. The words flowed the same way. There was no clear beginning or end, only a gentle unfolding. The river in the story wandered, the man said. It listened too closely to the voices around it and forgot the sound of its own movement. It became narrow and restless. Only when it returned to listening to the land beneath it did it grow wide and calm again. Elena felt the meaning settle softly inside her. Without needing to analyze it, another voice joined in, a woman this time, adding a memory of her grandmother, who used to tell stories to the stars. Then another person spoke, then another. Each story blended into the next, like threads woven into a single cloth. No one interrupted. No one rushed to respond. Silence was allowed to exist between words, and those pauses felt just as important as the stories themselves. Elena noticed how different this felt from conversations she knew. There was no competition here, no need to be clever or quick. Stories were not exchanged, they were shared, held together for a while, then gently released. She found herself breathing more slowly again. At some point, Elena was invited to speak. The invitation came not as a question, but as a quiet expectation, warm and open. She hesitated for a moment, then spoke about a place from her childhood, a field where she used to sit alone, listening to the wind move through tall grass. She had not thought about it in years. As she described it, the memory became vivid again, alive with color and sound. When she finished, no one commented. No one praised or explained. They simply nodded, accepting her story exactly as it was. That acceptance settled deep within her. The fire crackled softly. The shadows lengthened. Light shifted toward gold, then amber. Elena felt the afternoon slipping toward evening. Not with sadness, but with quiet appreciation, she realized that stories here were not meant to teach lessons directly. They were meant to create space, space to feel, to remember, to rest inside meaning without effort. As the circle slowly loosened and people drifted away, Elena remained by the fire for a while longer. She watched a single ember glow, then fade. She felt fuller than she had in a long time, not filled with information, filled with warmth, and as the first hints of evening cooled the air, Elena sensed that the day was gently guiding her toward its final, softer hours. The evening arrived on quiet feet. Elena felt it in the cooling air first, brushing lightly against her skin, carrying the scent of distant trees and fading warmth. The village moved again, not in haste, but with the gentle understanding that the day was slowly turning inward. She was invited to walk. A small group formed, their steps unhurried as they followed a narrow path beyond the village. The ground was firm and smooth, worn by years of peaceful passage. Elena walked near the center, listening to the soft rhythm of footsteps, the quiet brushing of fabric, the occasional call of a bird settling in for the night. The wind moved freely here. It slipped through tall grass, brushed against Elena's hair, and carried whispers she could not quite understand, but didn't need to. They reached a low hill overlooking the land. From there, the view opened wide. The sky stretched endlessly, painted in slow-moving shades of gold, pale pink, and deepening blue. The sun rested near the horizon, its light gentle and forgiving. No one spoke. Elena stood still, hands resting loosely at her sides. She felt the weight of the day in her body, not heavy, but full. Like a vessel filled carefully, without spilling. The wind passed over her again, cooler now. She breathed in deeply, feeling it travel through her chest, then out again. Each breath felt like a quiet conversation with the world around her. One of the women stepped forward and raised her hand slightly, as if greeting the sun. The gesture was simple, unforced. Others followed. Elena did the same, lifting her hand, palm open. She did not know the meaning of the gesture in words, she knew it in feeling. Gratitude moved through her, not dramatic or overwhelming, but steady and sincere. Gratitude for the land, for the people, for the slow, careful way the day had unfolded. Gratitude for being allowed to witness it. As the sun slipped lower, the colors softened further. The sky darkened at its edges, preparing for night. Elena felt a calm certainty settle within her, as though something important had been gently aligned. They began the walk back just as quietly. Shadows stretched across the path. The first stars appeared faintly above, shy and distant. Elena noticed how naturally darkness arrived here, not as something to fear, but as a continuation of rest. Back in the village, small fires were lit again. Their glow was low and steady, offering light without pushing back the night too forcefully. Elena paused for a moment, looking up at the sky. The stars were clearer now, scattered generously, unbothered by noise or light. She felt small beneath them, but not insignificant. She felt placed. As the evening deepened, she sensed the day drawing toward its final chapter. There was a quiet anticipation in the air, like the gentle pause before a story's closing lines. Elena wrapped her shawl more closely around herself and followed the soft glow of firelight. The night was ready to receive her. Night settled fully over the village, slow and complete. The fires glowed softly now, their light warm and steady, never sharp. Shadows moved lazily across the ground, stretching and fading with each quiet flicker. Elena sat close enough to feel the heat on her palms, far enough to remain comfortable. The air carried new sounds. Crickets began their steady rhythm. An owl called once from somewhere beyond the trees. The wind had softened, moving only when it wished. A small drum was brought forward. It was not struck loudly. Instead, a gentle beat began, slow, patient, like a heartbeat meant to calm rather than awaken. Each sound settled into the night, spreading outward and dissolving naturally. Then came the voices. They rose quietly at first, low and warm, blending together without effort. The song did not demand attention. It invited it. There were no sharp changes in tone, no sudden movements. The melody moved in a simple, repeating pattern, easy to follow, easy to rest within. Elena felt the sound move through her body. The vibration seemed to reach places she rarely noticed, behind her ribs, along her spine, deep in her chest. Her breathing matched the rhythm almost without her noticing. She closed her eyes. The firelight painted gentle patterns behind her eyelids. Warm orange, soft gold, deep red. The colors pulsed slowly, in time with the drum and voices. The song felt ancient, but not distant. It felt present, alive, as if it existed not in the past, but in every moment it was sung. Elena sensed that this music was not performed, it was shared, offered freely to the night. She felt herself drifting, balanced perfectly between listening and resting. The song ended the way it began, without announcement. The final note faded naturally, leaving behind a silence that felt full rather than empty. No one rushed to fill it. Elena opened her eyes slowly. The fire had burned lower. The stars above were bright and steady, watching without judgment. She felt deeply calm, her body heavy and relaxed. Someone placed a warm cup into her hands. She sipped slowly. The liquid tasted of herbs and earth, comforting and mild. Heat spread gently through her chest and down into her stomach. She leaned back slightly, supported by folded blankets. Around her, others rested in similar quiet positions, their faces peaceful, their movements minimal. This was not an ending, it was a settling. Elena realized that everything about the day had been guiding her here, to this softened state, where effort was no longer required. Where presence was enough. Her thoughts slowed until they became impressions rather than words. Warmth. Safety. Belonging. The fire continued to glow, patient and steady, and Elena felt herself gently leaning into the night. Ready for what came next. The night deepened, calm and unbroken. Elena was guided to a quiet place at the edge of the village, where several teepees rested beneath the open sky. The fires nearby had dimmed to glowing embers, offering just enough light to feel secure without disturbing the darkness. A soft blanket was placed over her shoulders. It was warm, carrying the faint scent of smoke and woven grass. She wrapped it around herself, feeling comfort settle into her body. Above her, the sky stretched endlessly. Stars filled it completely, more than she had ever seen at once. They did not flicker nervously. They simply existed, steady and patient, as if time moved differently up there. Elena lay down slowly, her head resting on folded fabric. The ground beneath her was cool, but not cold. It felt solid, dependable, like something that would remain long after everything else changed. Nearby, others prepared for sleep in quiet, familiar ways. There was no sharp noise, no sudden movement. Only the gentle shifting of bodies finding rest, the soft rustle of blankets, the quiet breathing of people settling in. Elena listened. The night had its own rhythm. Insects moved and sang. The wind whispered through distant trees. A fire cracked softly, once, then fell silent again. She focused on her breath. In, out, each breath felt deeper than the last. as if her body were slowly sinking into the earth, becoming part of it. Her muscles relaxed fully now, releasing any remaining tension she hadn't known she was carrying. Her thoughts began to drift, but they did not pull her away. Instead, they softened, turning into gentle images without edges. She imagined herself as part of the land, resting the way the hills rested, breathing the way the trees breathed. There was no need to hold anything together. Everything was already whole. At some point, she felt a quiet hand adjust the blanket around her, tucking it closer against the night air. The gesture was careful, respectful, filled with warmth. Elena did not open her eyes. She smiled faintly. Sleep approached slowly, politely, waiting until she was ready. It did not rush her. It did not demand. As she drifted closer, she felt a deep sense of trust in the land beneath her, in the sky above her, in the people resting nearby, trust in this moment. The stars continued their silent watch, and Elena slipped gently into sleep, not falling, not fading, just easing into it, like a leaf settling onto still water. Elena slept, but not deeply. Her rest moved like slow water, carrying her gently between dreaming and awareness. The night wrapped around her without weight, without pressure. Sounds reached her softly, the distant call of an owl, the faint shifting of someone turning in their sleep, but none of them pulled her away. Her dreams came quietly. She found herself walking again, barefoot on warm earth. The land felt familiar, though she could not say why. The sky above her was neither day nor night, but something in between, a soft, endless twilight. Figures moved in the distance. They were calm, unhurried, their forms blending naturally with the land. They did not speak. Yet Elena understood them. Their presence felt like memory rather than encounter. She followed a narrow path that seemed to appear only as she walked it. Each step felt effortless. There was no destination to reach, no urgency to arrive. The wind moved through her dream just as it had during the day. It carried the same quiet understanding, the same gentle invitation to listen rather than think. Elena became aware of her body resting elsewhere, on the ground beneath the stars, yet she did not feel divided. The dream and the waking world felt connected, layered softly atop one another. In the dream, she came to a wide river. Its surface was smooth, reflecting the sky perfectly. She knelt beside it and looked into the water. She did not see her reflection. Instead, she saw moments, simple, ordinary moments from her life. Walking alone at dusk. Sitting quietly with someone she loved. Breathing deeply without realizing she had needed to. None of the moments felt heavy. They drifted past like leaves on the river, appearing and disappearing without clinging. Elena felt a sense of peace wash over her. She understood, without words, that this dream was not meant to show her anything new. It was meant to remind her of what she already knew but had forgotten. The river flowed on, patient and steady. Gradually, the images faded. The figures in the distance dissolved into the landscape. The path beneath her feet softened until it was no longer needed. Elena felt herself drifting again, deeper now. Her breath slowed further. Her body, resting under shared skies, became heavy and still. The dream loosened its hold, releasing her gently back into quiet sleep. The night continued to watch over her, and somewhere between worlds, between waking and dreaming, Elena rested in perfect balance. Morning returned without announcement. Elena woke slowly, her eyes still heavy, her body warm beneath the blanket. For a moment, she did not move. She listened. The night had softened into early dawn, and the world felt new, quiet, and open. The sky above her was pale and wide, brushed lightly with pink and silver. A thin mist rested near the ground, lifting gently as if unsure whether to stay or leave. The air was cool and clean, filling her lungs easily. She sat up, careful and unhurried. Around her, the village stirred in the same gentle way it had the day before. People moved quietly, greeting one another with nods and soft smiles. Fires were rekindled, their flames small and welcoming. The rhythm felt familiar now, as if her body already understood it. Elena wrapped her shawl around herself and stood, feeling the earth steady beneath her feet. She noticed how different she felt, not lighter, not heavier, but calmer. As if something inside her had settled into its proper place, she walked toward the edge of the village, drawn again to the open land. The sun began to rise, slow and golden, touching the ground with warmth. Birds called softly, testing the morning with careful notes. Elena breathed deeply. She did not feel the need to hold on to the experience of the day before. It did not feel fragile, as if it might be lost. Instead, it felt woven into her. Quietly secure, the older woman approached her, her silver braid catching the early light. She placed something into Elena's hand, the stone. Elena smiled, closing her fingers around it. She had almost forgotten it was there, though she had felt its presence all along. "You will carry this day," the woman said gently. "Even when you leave?" Elena nodded. Words felt unnecessary again. When it was time to go, there was no ceremony, no dramatic farewell. Only shared glances, soft gestures, and the understanding that parting did not mean separation. Elena walked away from the village slowly, pausing once to look back. The teepees stood quiet and grounded. Part of the land as they always had been. The people moved calmly within them, already beginning another gentle day. As she continued on, the path ahead opened naturally. The world beyond waited, just as it always had. But Elena felt different walking toward it now. She carried the morning with her. She carried the quiet work of hands, the rest beneath the sky, the songs in the night, the dream between worlds. She carried the knowledge that stillness was always available, waiting patiently to be noticed. And as the sun climbed higher, Elena walked on, steady, calm, and awake in a deeper way than before. The day continued, so did she.